against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Magnum Martel, and welcome back to another video where I once again have to sit down and talk about some crap going on in the gaming industry. Square Enix. It's no secret that I hate Square Enix. I have hated Square Enix ever since 2016 for my own personal reasons, and if you don't know what those reasons are, quite simply, ever since they almost killed the Hitman franchise by forcing Hitman 2016 to release an episodic format, and there was all that talk about them basically wanting to turn all of their games into a Netflix service, where every game was going to release in episodic format, and we were only going to get one little piece every couple months. This is something that they are continuing to try to do, that they've been using Final Fantasy VII to push in hopes that they popularize it. Obviously, it failed with Hitman 2016, and it damn near killed the entire franchise. So I have lost all respect for the company ever since. I've hated them ever since. Now, I know that the game did inevitably make its good old comeback with the sequel, and then finally the third game last year, which I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. If they would have killed my favorite franchise, I would have went fucking ballistic, believe me. There wouldn't even be a Square Enix for me to talk about today. I actually tried to start my own movement hashtag back in those days before I realized how stupid that was, called hashtag fuck Square Enix. I mean, I stand by it. Fuck Square Enix, especially now. But my personal hatred aside, they've only given me more reasons to dislike them. And now I'm sure you've heard the news about the Square Enix Ethics Department. It has been a talk for the past couple years about what exactly it is, because it's probably the worst thing they could have ever possibly done. But today we're going to take a look at an article about a leak for a job listing for said Ethics Department, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Alright, so the leak about this Ethics Department originally came from the Senkaku complex. It was posted on March 29th, 2022, and it took off over the course of the past week. Good outlet, as far as I know. I've never had a problem with them. So far, they appear to be posting all the good stuff. Now, this ethics department in question, we've all known has existed for a very long time. In fact, we've been well aware of it. There just wasn't any proof about its official existence. But thankfully, someone discovered a job listing on a Japanese website that may shed some more light on the situation. And after some better translations came out about the job listing and some better research was done into the subject, we now know for a fact that it is a department that is entirely based on censoring the Western release of the games. Let's take a look. So we're going to start off by taking a look at an article about the subject done by Bounding Into Comics to gain a little bit of a better understanding. Then we're going to take a look at the English translation of the job listing I already showed you, and then we're going to step back into Bounding Into Comics article and go from there. Square Enix job listing provides details on ethics department, confirms focus on, quote, discriminatory, prejudicial, or offensive content. This article was posted on March 31st, 2022. These details were recently brought to the public's eye courtesy of Twitter user DragonMasterX, who on March 26 highlighted a staff interview from Marie Tanabe found on a Japanese Square Enix recruitment page, where the 2016 hire noted that she worked for the company's quality control department, aka the ethics department, and takes pride in how the result of my work is that users can play to the end without any discomfort. This is the tweet in question here at the bottom, and now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the translated version. Like I said, my job. I started out as a game designer on an online game. Nowadays, though, as a member of the ethics department, I do a content check for all the company's titles. More precisely, I look at scenario, art, and other aspects of the game to see if there's anything discriminatory, biased, or offensive. On top of being involved with so many games, we in the ethics team are involved with each one for a long span of time, from the initial planning stages and continually throughout the project's development. It is a great feeling of accomplishment when a game finally gets released. Favorite part of my job. Because the ethics team's job is to make changes to whatever the devs make, I have to take responsibility and make sure that any changes I make/suggest are justified. It's a lot more simple than yes or no sort of thing. Being able to propose an alternate expression is also a huge part of it. One aspect I try really hard at is to make sure the changes aren't noticed by the end user. For example, a typo or a controversial / problematic / weird artistic or verbal expression in a really emotional scene could ruin the experience. The user not noticing any changes means that I've done my job right. On the flip side, when a game I was involved in gets released to outstanding praise, it feels like I'm the one getting praise, and it really makes my... Okay, now before we go any further and jump back into the Bounding into Comics article, there's a couple of spots that I particularly wanted to focus on. Because, well, you know me, I got some shit I'd like to say about it. The first one here would be this line about them being involved, the ethics team being involved in every project from the very beginning. What that tells me is that from the beginning, Square Enix knows what they're going to have to censor. The devs know what is going to be expected to be censored. And this team is always there, whispering in their ear, always telling them, yeah, you can't do that. You might offend some Westerners. And the next part I want to focus on is this. This is very important. One aspect I try really hard at is to make sure that my changes aren't noticed by the end user. That's not a good thing. The end user not noticing my changes means I've done my job right. That tells me that they are hired on the basis of making sure that the changes they demand are not noticed by the end user. Now, obviously, we, the end user, are always going to notice, because there are people like myself who literally watch out for that kind of bullshit, especially when it comes to games coming out of Japan. There are people all over the internet that specifically pay attention and notice when something doesn't seem right. Obviously, Tanabe here is not very good at her job, because we all noticed what happened with Tifa Lockhart. God knows I've been covering it since it fucking started. These two things are the most troubling, not only to me personally, but to pretty much everyone who has covered this subject. Because you and me, the people who would actually buy these games, the people who these products are supposed to be for, are the ones that don't want this censorship or these changes. And Square Enix obviously knows that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be telling the ethics department that it's their job to hide the fact that they're making these changes to begin with. They would just have the ethics department out in the open. They know exactly what they are doing here. But okay, there's a little bit more that wasn't covered by the screenshot I read to you here. Let's jump back into the Bounding into Comics article, because they have the information. Tanabe then provides interested parties with a sample daily schedule of Square Enix Ethics Department member, which include regular meetings to, quote, review and share project status within the ethics team. Cases reported at this meeting may be shared with other projects. A, quote, review of materials requested by each project, wherein the team makes, fucking quotes here, man, careful decisions on whether or not to use expressions referring to internal guidelines, the latest news, and materials on the subject, and preparation for the department's annual ethics seminar for the entire company, where in preparation for the workshop, we organize case studies. So what that tells me is that the entire company has to listen to these people. These people have all the power. They are holding all the cards. If they tell the developers to do something, they have to do it. The fact that they have an annual meeting is not a good sign. Towards the end of the day, the ethics department is involved in quality assurance. In the case of the consumer games, Tanabe explains, we check the game on screen. We check that the game on screen is what the users actually see. So we sometimes check the game by playing it on actual equipment. Given that this is Japan, I both believe that and I don't. Because the people that work in these kinds of departments here in the West don't ever actually play the games. They will never actually ever touch the game. See Sam Maggs, Anita Sarkeesian, etc., etc. But given that this is Japan, I think it's highly possible that they probably do actually play the game themselves a little bit during initial testing, or at least they sit in the room. Drawing her interview to a close, Tanabe states, few game companies have a dedicated ethics team like ours, making this a uniquely attractive environment for those who wish to delve deeply into the expression of entertainment. Unlike other positions, we also have the advantage of being able to work on a large number of games, she concluded. Many people don't know about our ethics team, but we want more people to know about this job. If you like games, like to research, and are willing to take on responsibility, we encourage you to take on this challenge. Many people don't know about our ethics department, she says. Gee, I wonder why. It's not like your bosses have been actively trying to hide its existence. Okay, we're almost done here. Just a little bit more of the article. Tanabe's claim that only a few know about the ethics department's existence couldn't be more wrong, as the outrage over it predates the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, beginning in June 2019, when the director revealed in an interview that Tifa's chest was, quote, tightened compared to her original PlayStation 1 appearance due to Square Enix's ethics department. I love that. I love that the original director of the game literally outright admitted that the ethics department made him do it because he didn't want to do it. And everyone was mad about it. So he was like, yeah, it was them. Don't even fucking yell at me. With Tifa being one of, if not the poster girl for sexy video game female characters, alongside such characters as Lara Croft and Mai Shiranui, gamers were quickly outraged by both what they perceived as Square Enix bending the knee to outrage from games journalists and their classification of sexy as unethical. Square Enix attempted damage control soon after, as though Nomura had justified the change by reasoning that Tifa's large chest, quote, doesn't look natural during all of the intense fighting. A Square Enix representative later stated that the ethics department was, quote, actually a group within the company that evaluates the game's content to make sure it's aligned with the anticipated age ratings and standards across the globe. Global standards. In this case, they added, we want a new generation of gamers to experience Final Fantasy VII and are working very closely with the company's internal experts to make sure all of the game's content is appropriate. And now, not only we have clarification, but an admission that that was a blatant lie. They lied to us, they knew what they were doing, and the director knew damn well that this wouldn't blow over well. So rather than try to take the blame himself, which they probably expected him to, he straight up said, oh no, it was all... Okay, the rest of the article isn't really important. It talks a little bit about PlayStation censorship and the Honeybee Inn thing being changed in the remake. Now, I haven't played the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I didn't care to, I didn't really want to begin with. I actually have another video coming out later this week about some outrage about mods involving the game now that it's available on PC. None of that really matters. Let's just start closing up here. Obviously, this ethics department thing is a controversy for a good reason. We are tired of games being censored, and no matter how much outrage we seem to make, it always seems to continue happening. This ethics department is nothing more than evidence of feminism and social justice ideology slowly infecting Japan. It's been no secret that Japan has been one of the last bastions when it comes to this type of content not being censored in gaming and in manga, anime, etc., etc. And we've noticed that because of outrage from Westerners on Twitter, mostly games journalists, that it's been getting worse. Japan has slowly been starting to change itself, and it's obvious that these people are slowly infecting the Japanese populace. Look at this Tanabe person. She's proud of what she does, either because she's been convinced that she's doing the right thing, she just likes the fact that they probably pay her a lot of money to do this, or, in my opinion, I think she's been infected. I think that some Western feminist got to her and convinced her that this is the right. And that's most unfortunate because Japan has long been a final bastion against this forced censorship. The fact that this ethics department exists to begin with, assuming it doesn't exist for global standards, which even then, that is a reason it shouldn't exist to begin with, because global standards is one of the excuses that they use. The fact that they are trying to push these idealisms into Japan using these departments to begin with is not a good thing. Because it already happens here in the West. Localized translations already get censored as they're going through the translation. Now we have to worry about them being censored at the source, the place that we have long been trying to defend. People of Japan, take my advice. You probably can't understand me, but take my advice. Stand up and fight now before it gets worse. Stand up and fight back right now. This is the only time you have the chance. It may already be too late, but you as the consumers within the country need to stand up not only for yourselves, but for the rest of us, because there's only so much we can do. We have been fighting this war in the West since 2014, since before I was involved in this war. And I do see it as a war, because it is an endless war. It is continuing. If it wasn't a war, we wouldn't even still be fighting. It would have been over by now. This actually does present an opportunity here. Because obviously some Westerners, probably games journalists, are going to try and go over to Japan, or ones that already live there, are going to try and get this job so that they can make matters worse. This is an opportunity for some of us to take the job as well. So if you're from Japan, if you live in Japan, or you're the type of person that's against this bullshit censorship, go get that job. Go get that job and stop the censorship before it begins, while pretending that you're upholding their global standards. The only way we're going to inevitably win this long, long culture war is by going out of our way to take these positions before some man-hating feminist can get them, and stopping the censorship while pretending that we're doing it. Because when they realize that you're not censoring, or that you're actually making things more quote-unquote unethical in their opinion, they're going to get rid of you. But if we can stop it, and we can push out more games that have less censorship, ultimately they might finally realize how stupid they are. But the only way that's going to work is by using the SJW method against them. That's how these people have been winning for so long. They've infiltrated all of the companies here in the West, and now they're trying to infiltrate Japan. If we infiltrate first, which is not even an infiltration, considering we created these spaces, we belong in them, they are ours, and they're taking them from us, that might be the only way we can win. But I don't know what else to do about it. I'm personally just not buying Square Enix games anymore. I was pretty neutral on that Forspoken game coming out, but now, after reading this, I already know what to expect. I mean, I kind of knew what to expect to begin with. I was in this category where I'm like, alright, let's wait and see if it's actually as bad as it looks, but I think it's definitely going to be as bad as it looks now. But that's all I have to say about it. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. My name is Magnum Martel. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the Square Enix Ethics Department and the forced censorship of games coming out of Japan, and what you think we do about it. Don't forget to go check out all of my other social medias. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my other channel, Magnum Plays. And I'll see you in the next one.